Hi, I'm Dave, welcome to the channel. Today, more magnetic racing kits. This time, 039TO, the Goodwood ticket office, or in fact, pair of ticket offices. Hello again. So firstly, sorry this video is about 22 minutes long, but hopefully by now I've divided it into chapters in YouTube for you, which will make life a bit easier. So here is the magnetic racing kit and the tools we need to start with, which is of course a file, a razor blade and a cup of coffee. We can't make a magnetic racing kit without a cup of coffee in one of their mugs. And it's a Honduras coffee this time. Now I'm not going to show that anymore because those people need to sponsor me before I shout about their coffee. I've decided that. So let's get the kit open. As always, the lovely smell of burnt MDF comes out of the bag. It must be nice working at magnetic racing. It must just smell lovely all the time. So as I say, there are two huts in this kit, so it's kind of a duplicate kit. So this one's a duplicate of that one. So we'll leave that out of the way for a minute. And this one's a duplicate of that one, so again. And this other sheet comes with various different signs for the roof of the huts. Merchandise tickets, refreshments and tobacconists. We'll use one of those and maybe we'll use some of them for other things as well. So the great pressing out. Everything in this kit just comes out nicely. I've left those kind of little bracket pieces in for the time being, but we'll get to those. Bit more coffee. And you know what happens next? File all the little nibs off all the pieces. I thought I'd leave this bit of video in because it's quite therapeutic watching it when it's speeded up. It's quite annoying when you're doing it at normal speed, but hey ho. So here they are, all filed, all sorted out, and I've split them into groups. There's the inside structure walls, the outside walls, the doors and shutters that go on the outside, and the roof. So we'll move the roof out of the way for the time being, and the doors and the shutters. And we'll just concentrate on the inner wall structure. Now all these magnetic racing kits are kind of double skinned, and you'll see here the inside skin actually has an outside face because it's got that little line along the bottom, and that kind of lines up and is like a plinth for the wooden shed. So we'll get to that later as well. Let's just start with the basics of gluing a square box together square. Using the right angle to make sure we've got everything lined up properly. Here we are, all four sides of that, and we've now got a box. And we've got to a point where I've got an empty coffee, so that can be a paperweight for a little while. Magic television cut there, it's dried. And we have a box. And this is great as a little ticket kiosk. Except there's no counter inside. But we have got these extra signs for the roof that we don't need. So I'm just going to cut one of those down a little bit. So that fits. And then I'll just glue that in. Again, using the square to make sure it's at right angles. And that then becomes just under the windowsill the counter for the front of the kiosk. So I've already gone off script with this kit. Doug's watching this and going, oh no, what's he doing now? Roof brace in. And now we've got all the shutters and the little brackets and bits and pieces to put on the outside walls. I'm going to assemble the outside walls and then stick them to the inside walls later. it will become apparent why when we get there. Now, in order to get these little shutters in, I kind of want them to be definitely in the middle of the apertures. I mean, you get a little gap where the laser cut is, but take it out, put it back in again properly, line them up so everything is just even, just so, and then stick them down with a bit of masking tape so they don't move. And then turn it over and run the thinnest bead of glue round it all, just to hold it all in place. The glue will leach down between the two pieces of wood, but shouldn't come all the way through. And of course, same with the other side. I've decided to keep the side hatches, both sides on this hut, closed. You have the option to have open or closed on all 6 hatches, but yeah, same thing again. And now, in order to hold them in place while I'm doing other things, I'm going to tape down the side I glued and then turn them over and take the tape off the fronts so they're kind of still supported for the time being. And you can see nice even gaps all the way round. And we'll put all these little brackets in while we're at it. And now we do the hatches on the front. So for this, I'm gonna have these open, but so I'll put the windowsills in the bottom, so they're like little shelves for the outside for the customers. And I'm going to put in the 2 front hatches open, but I'm not going to put them in at the same angle. I want this to look a bit rustic. You'll be surprised to hear. I always do things rustic, don't I? So there they are, a little bit wonky, not the same. Quite intentionally, slightly not the same. Now there's going to be a backstory to this hut. So part of this backstory is going to involve the fact that this hut's a bit, well, probably on its 2nd or 3rd use in its life. And it's got a bit tired. So the hatches don't stay up by themselves. So somewhere along the line, somebody's made some little props. And that's what's held the hatches open these days. So just a spare bit of the kit, trim it up a little bit, and then we'll glue it on and make support struts for the hatches. So there's one. And just do the one for the other side now. So there we are, hatches and supports complete for the front side of the building. So the next thing is paint. We'll start with the inside structural box. White primer spray. Just going to spray around the inside. I'm not going to try and get too much paint on the outside because I'm going to glue things to that anyway. So just make sure the inside of the box is nicely covered. And then the outside, I'm going to do in my usual way, start with some grey primer. Really shouldn't do this on a windy day. I'd use a lot less paint. I'll just remove a couple of bits here that I don't want yellow filler primer on. So, nice coat of yellow filler primer next. And then some white primer over the top of that. So we've got several layers of different colours of paint here. And now this is some garden paint I found in the shed, so I'm just going to use it. And it's purple. It's very purple. You're thinking, why is he painting his little shed purple? It will become clear later. So back inside, all the paint's nicely dried. We've got all our components here, except there's a flaw with this kit. There's no flaw with this kit. Fortunately, Magnetic Racing give you quite a lot of spare wood on the front covering sheet that comes with the kit. So, magic of television, there's the box, there's a piece of that wood with some checker plate printed out, and we just glue that down so there's a flaw. There is now no flaw with this kit. Next up, remember that little plinth I said round the edge? I'm just going to put some black paint on that. In the backstory for this old hut, it was put on something, got a bit damp, and somebody painted some of that black tar around the bottom just to stop the damp getting into the hut. There's all sorts of ways you can fill in these letters on these signs. I'm just using a pencil. It'll do the job fine. And again, it won't be totally even, so there'll be a slight element of distressed look to it. Right, now this is dry, I think. Yep. I should go about the business of gluing the outside walls onto the inside walls. And because the inside box is nice and square, because we built it square, the outside bits go on nice and easily. So there's a hut, but you're going, there's a hut with no roof, isn't it? What's he done about the roof? He didn't paint the roof? Where's the roof gone? Well, again, part of the backstory for this is that this roof isn't going to be that kind of trendy planked thing. It's going to have roof felt on it. So, just a sheet of wet and dry sandpaper, which I've made slightly too long. And I'm going to cut it in half, roughly. Now I'll stick the lower piece down first, so the back edge of the roof. And because it's slightly too long, the front piece will just overlap the back piece, like roofing felt would overlap on a shed roof. So you'd get a bit of a seam. Now the roof has these kind of 4 weatherboards around the side of it. So I'll stick those on, being careful not to stick the roof down because I want to take the roof off. It's an openable lid here. And then I'll just put the refreshment sign together, which is the frame that goes on the front. And then I'll put the roof back in, and again, being very careful not to super glue the roof to the rest of the building, I shall get the sign lined up and pop the glue in accordingly. So there we are. One quite nicely finished purple refreshment hut. With a felt roof. Now I'm so happy with that, I'm going to ruin it. A selection of different grits of sandpaper. No, I don't know which one I'm going to use yet. I'll just pick one up and try it, and if I think it's too coarse, I'll switch to a finer one, and if I think it's too fine, I'll switch to a coarser one. So, while this is going on, and it's nice to watch, I thought I'd give you the full backstory for this little hut. This little hut started life in this fantasy backstory as the ticket-paying hut for the car park at Mundon Park. But it fell into disuse because obviously automated ticket machines came along. And it was about to be abandoned completely when somebody took it on, decided to paint it a bright colour and open a refreshment hut. Unfortunately, they did that a while ago, and the hut is now still functioning as a hut, but it could probably do with another lick of paint again. That's the look I'm going for. So it's a kind of a repurposed hut that is kind of in need of a third life because it's towards the end of its second life. I think if you've got a story like that, it's easier to create the thing in your mind because you've got the story to create. So you can think, well, okay, along the bottom here, the damp will have got in and the paint will have peeled off. Around the doorways and the edges, paint always wears off. There'll be a few scratches and things. And I've scratched through the white, through some of the yellow, and through under to some of the grey in some places as well. So you can see the kind of history of the colours the shed was painted through its life in its different incarnations. And I'm just going to scuff up the sandpaper with a bit more sandpaper so that my roofing felt looks a bit more weathered as well. And there we are. I think that's kind of near to finished as a structure. There's just a few more things we need to do. One of the things that happens to kind of old sheds that get a bit damp is that green mossy lichen stuff starts to grow up it in various places. Just the ends of a brush, a fairly stiff brush. In fact, it's a brush that had some varnish dried on it, so it's not actually a very good brush anymore for painting, but it is quite good for this kind of textury stuff. And that green licheny stuff spreads and grows everywhere, so all around the bottom and some of it towards the top as well. And of course it's not just one colour of green, so we'll use 3 different colours of green and have 3 different passes of different amounts of different lichen colours. And of course it always just takes hold on one particular corner and crawls all the way up the side of the building. So there's one bit of anything like that where the conditions are just perfect and the lichen and algae just grow. And just to finish off, we need to add some dirt. So a bit of black paint, quite a lot of water, and we'll just add a little bit of, the grime of the years of use of this poor, quite tired shed. And then, as always with the aging, having painted the dirt on, you need to wipe most of it off again. So there we have it. One quite tired shed at the end of its second use as a cafe, but still just about open and still just about hanging on. Nature is trying to claim it back. It could do with renovating or replacing, but at the moment this little refreshment hut is hanging on for dear life, and it will live in Mundon Park car park. And you're thinking, what happened to the other shed? Well, to prove I can make nice shiny things, I've put the other one together as a nice shiny thing and varnished it, and opened the side hatches one side in a different way to the ones in the front. But other than that, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just supposed to be like one of those trendy Christmas market artisan huts that sells you candles. So that's it. Thanks for watching one of my videos again. It was a long one. Please hit the like button if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel, that really does help. And if you hit the bell, you'll get a notification the next time I post a video. And of course, check out this slot car channel.